Thank you, and I'll be brief because the bill is fairly self-explanatory. I won't go into the details of the mechanism at this point because a lot of people have come to address the committee. But briefly, a bill very much like this passed the House overwhelmingly in 1995 with 93 votes on second reading, 94 on third reading. The genesis for it came from a book, Keeper of the Public Pulse, from former Treasurer Harlan Boyles, who warned that the state spending was rising too fast beyond the ability to be sustained. So we've had this warning for years, and we've seen this same mess we're in now repeated on several occasions, that we raise spending, we spend everything we take in during the good years, and then the bad years come and you have to slash away at what's been spent in the good years. But I do appreciate the comments. I think the other sponsors will look at some suggested changes. For example, should we have the reserve fund be bigger? That's been raised. I know some critics have said, well, don't do this because some of the things the state spends money on, education and health care, the inflation rate there is rising faster than the overall inflation rate you use, so it's not commensurate. I would be open to another trigger, but I do think we need some sort of limit, because I can just tell you, as a member, I have seen that when the money's there, these members, the politicians, just cannot keep themselves from spending it. And so we need something, just like our Constitution constrains us from having an unbalanced budget. From a cash standpoint, we need another constraint on this body and on the governor to keep from spending everything that comes in, or there is going to be very bleak future for the children who are going to be left to pick up the mess we're making. So I commend it to you and look forward to hearing from the public.
I'm Vance, Holloman, Deputy State Treasurer of the State and Local Government Finance Division. I want to thank the Chairman and the sponsors and the members of the committee for the chance to come here and just speak briefly today. I'd like to begin by saying that the Treasurer's Office certainly supports sound financial management practices, including the control of expenditures, and we believe this bill was put forward with the very best of intentions. However, I'd like to point out that we do have concerns about it, perhaps unintended consequences which could come about. Nationwide, several states have enacted constitutional amendments that create these supermajorities that are required for changes in budgets or adoptions of budgets or adjustments to budgets. The bond rating agencies definitely oppose, and made it very clear they oppose such limits. And in fact, they've cited the lack of such limits in North Carolina as a positive for our state. And they view such limits as a credit negative. The reason they take this stand or this view of these limitations, and the reasons we believe you should be concerned about these limitations, is simply a loss of budget flexibility. And by that we mean that should circumstances arise that cause the state to need to increase its expenditures beyond the limits allowed in this bill, it would take a 2/3 vote of the legislature to do that. That will make such changes more difficult to occur. And it's a loss of flexibility. There could be very, very legitimate reasons that expenditures need to increase beyond this limit, such as emergencies, increase in costs, such as, say, fuel costs, things of that nature. Also, the need to put new programs in place with changes in our economy, changes in our state. When you create a supermajority requirement, what you in essence do is you empower a submajority. All that is necessary is 34% of the General Assembly to oppose a legitimate, much-needed expenditure that will provide a long-term benefit to our state, and it will not occur. So there's definitely a loss of budget flexibility there. I don't think that can be argued. And again, that is viewed as a negative by the objective independent bond rating agencies. I'd also like to point out the Emergency Reserve Trust Fund. Certainly setting funds aside is a very noble purpose, a very good practice. Also having a funding stream, directing how the money will go in there is very positive. What concerns us is that in order to appropriate any of these funds to balance the following year's budget, you must have, again, a supermajority, a two-thirds majority of the legislature to approve that. That is, again, less flexibility than we have in our current operations, and I encourage you not to limit the budget flexibility available to future legislators. Of course, you know you stand before the voters every 2 years. 2010 demonstrated they will make dramatic changes when they feel they are needed, and that should be the accountability, not the imposition of a supermajority that empowers a submajority of 34% to block much needed programs or expenditures.